Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm your host, Jeff Howard, and I'm really excited today. I've got Jeff Hilliard here. Hey, Jeff.
Hello.
Two Jeffs in one small room in Sherman Oaks. Jeff brought his music video for the song Consensual to Film Invasion Los Angeles just a couple of months ago, actually. Film Invasion LA 2022. And not only does it completely kick ass, in my opinion, but it took home Outstanding Music Video, Outstanding Directors for a Music Video. That was Jeff and your co-director, Joey Danger. And then you also took home Outstanding Performance in a Music Video. So, hey, you showed up at a film festival in Sherman Oaks and went home with 3 awards, which doesn't suck. I know you don't do it for the awards, but, you know, when I see something that's really good, I actually root for it. So I was happy to see you get those.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. And so now we're just going to talk about your whole history. It's really interesting. Yeah, I know you're a musician, songwriter. You're directing these music videos. I think you do some comedy, all kinds of things. So feel free to jump right in. How old were you when you got started in creative?
I guess when I was a kid, I failed first grade. Second grade, I was put in special ed. School became like performance art. I wanted to be on Saturday Night Live or in Van Halen. So I think Saturday Night Live and MTV kind of shaped me as a creative person. I fell in college. I was taking a college class called studying the heuristics of communication patterns, and I got selected to work with a guy from the theater with a few people, and then we would do stuff on camera. And that's when I thought, oh wow, acting is kind of like playing sports. So that's when I got into it, and I started taking acting classes in college. Acted in some like student films, and I got an agent, and was in some commercials. And then I moved to Los Angeles in 1998, and my goal was to be like a character actor, play like weird people in films. And then I started doing stand-up. I did that for like 8 years. I hosted a travel show briefly. I did Second City. I did their conservatory. And then I waited till technology got to a point where the cameras got really good, and I started shooting my own little weird shorts and stuff. And then I befriended the guys in the band Chevelle, and they liked the stuff I was doing, so I got to make a music video for them called I Get It, and it premiered on MTV2, and I was told it was one of the most played music videos that year, and that's how I learned how to make a music video. And I had hired a friend of mine who's a producer and a director to do it, and I kind of helped produce it, and I acted in it. And then they loved it so much, I got to make a follow-up music video, and so that's how I learned how to make music videos. And then I always wanted to do like satirical songs, and so I did my first song, and then we made it into a video, and it did very well. It kept getting deleted from YouTube. It's still there now, but and then after that I ran into the cinematographer that I did the second music video for, Chevelle, who's really talented, and we talked about a bunch of stuff, and at the end I told him what I was up to. I showed him the video I was working on and what I wanted to do, and he loved it. And I know years ago, like comedy, they wouldn't put a lot of detail on how stuff looked. And I wanted to do very realistic satire, and I'm kind of an art nerd, so I wanted everything to look, really beautiful and photographically interesting. And so we had a similar taste in humor. So we've worked together now for a long time. His name is John Orphan. He's brilliant. He's kind of like my Keith Richards if I was Mick Jagger. And so that's how I got into that.
That's actually a really cool path, because most of the people I talk to who make music videos were making music first and got sick of hiring other people to do their music videos and have them turn out not the way they wanted.
Right.
But you actually got into performance, into that, and then were you always, obviously you were thinking about Van Halen too, so you were always into music, but
I didn't have any real music skills. I didn't even know how to do karaoke. But the cool thing was, I was a trained actor. I've done all sorts of acting classes and stuff, and so I knew that I would commit to things. So I kind of approached it like a character actor, and but I didn't know what I was doing. I was trying to make funny. I was trying to make a viral video, and so it evolved. I worked with some really brilliant music producers over the years, and they just kept getting better and better and better, brilliant people wanting to participate. The past 2 years, I've worked with this really brilliant vocal coach Her name is Anastasia, and she's incredible. So now I can actually sing, so I could do all these different genres and stuff. And so I didn't have my producer wanting to kill me when I wasn't able to sing the song. So it's been a fun process. I could match pitch somewhat. And if you can do that, then you have the potential to be able to sing. Then you have to learn like proper technique and stuff. But it's been really fun. I'm into a challenge, trying to pull something off that like no one would think I could do. Yeah,
in a way. So do you come up, so like Consensual, which was the first thing of yours I ever got to see. I know you even sing in a falsetto in that a lot, right? That's pretty challenging singing.
Weirdly, I've been told by these different music producers and the vocal coach, I have a really good falsetto and I have like a really big range, which is crazy to think that it's amazing what you can discover about yourself if you kind of go for it, I guess.
Yeah. And so do you come up with a visual concept first, or is it song first and then you come up with a visual concept for the song?
You know what? It's happened both ways. Sometimes I will have a specific character that I'm doing. I'll figure out what the hook is, and I'll go to the music producer and be like, okay, this is a hook, and I'll build a song around that. Other times, which I love doing even more, is we'll just do the music. I'll just do like a genre of music and a style, and then I'll try to figure out what the song... from the music, I'll try to figure out what the story is of the song and who the character is. That's become my favorite way to do it because it gets more specific and it's not as broad in general.
And by the way, all the character work makes sense to me now that you told me your very brief bio, because like Second City and improv is always about character building, right? So you build up a character and that's why that's why they're always like the best people on SNL, right? Because it has to be character-based comedy because you can't come up with like great lines all the time.
Right, and Second City was a little different than like the Groundlings. The Groundlings is you come into a scene with like a tremendous amount of energy. And I liked Second City's approach better because it was more based in like realistic satire where it would escalate. And those were my favorite comedians came from there, like the original Saturday Night Live cast, which is what I grew up on as a child. Like Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray and all of them were Second City, John Belushi. And so that's kind of what I'm just doing characters like I would if I was doing a Second City show.
Which is cool. So it is, you are, and by the way, I mean, you just showed me Finger Bang Your Day and Abandon. And there's elements of short films.
Right.
Like in both, right? Like tagged on.
Right.
I mean, you basically start acting in a short film at the end of Abandon.
Right.
And do you ever think about doing a short or something, or?
I have, I've worked as an actor. I've been able to work with some really brilliant directors. Bernard Rose, who did the original Candyman and Immortal Beloved, he's made a bunch of great films. He gave me my first like legitimate acting gig where I played a lead in this film Frankenstein. It stars Xavier Samuels, Danny Houston, and Tony Todd, and I play like the main antagonist. And as we were shooting, I was told by the producer he was so impressed with my performance, he just kept giving me more days of work, and then I came like its own, it had a story arc and everything. And then we did a film during the pandemic called Traveling Light, which has been getting excellent reviews, and it stars Stephen Dorff, Danny Houston, and Tony Todd, and it's a really good movie. We improv the whole thing. So I'm going to try to shoot a feature film around my music videos. I've figured out a concept and how to do it and how I can do it inexpensively. So that I'm going to try to do it the next couple months, depending on a couple things. But as far as just doing like a short film, I had, like Bernard told me, he said, you know, I wouldn't waste my time on that. Just do a feature. But I know that I've seen it work for people that do a short and then they get, you know, it's so much work anyway. Why not just go for it? You know what I mean?
And your music videos are like your shorts anyway.
Right.
Anyway, so you've cut your teeth on that.
Right.
So why hold back from the feature?
Right.
And it's kind of cool because besides being a Renaissance man with comedy music, directing and stuff, you're also, you totally just showed me that you have the mind of a producer.
Right. Well, yeah, I had to produce all these, you know, I'm really good at, so I've been told I have a good eye. I went back to school, took a bunch of photography classes. And so I'm always, no matter where I'm going, I'm looking at possible locations. And then once I know the character, I put them in that location that tells me what the character will be doing. So I guess this is how I see the world, I guess, is through and expressing myself through these songs and videos is just kind of my interpretation of the world we live in. What I do is actually kind of really simple. I mean, I've been doing it since I was a kid. One of my real close best friends when I was a kid, sister found me on Facebook years ago, and she checked out all my stuff, and she contacted me, and she's like, you have not changed one bit since you were a kid. She goes, you weren't doing characters just to get attention and stuff. There was always like a story behind it or a message or something. And I thought I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know what's going on. I'm just kind of living my life. And so that was kind of funny to think that I've been doing the same thing since I was a kid. I've just gotten better at got a brilliant cinematographer. I work with a brilliant editor, Bobby Hewitt. He's amazing. And I have a brilliant team of people that participate in what I'm doing, and it's fun for them. And it's exciting. The one thing I'm very happy about is all the people that work on my stuff are there because they want to do it, and they're not charging me like a full rate. They're fans of what we're doing, and it's a collaborative process. I'm interested in if people have ideas and stuff. I'm open to whatever. It's kind of like a fun thing. We have a bunch of friends hanging out, just acting like a nut jobs, but professionals. And the one thing that's been really good, my cinematographer, I have a podcast, and I was interviewing him, and he told me that 10 different directors he works with know him from the work we did. And it's cool because the people that work on my stuff end up going on to do all sorts of other work, which you wouldn't normally think of, because most people get a lot of jobs through commercial gigs and stuff. But what I've learned is a lot of people are not that excited about that work because they could care less about doing a Doritos commercial or something. So it's fun to bring interesting creative people together to make something that they could be proud of.
And I think for a long time, music video has been a very cinematic form.
Right.
I mean, way back, I think we both probably grew up at the same time. And,
right.
and I mean, MTV used to have, back in the early days when it was all music, there was extremely cinematic stuff on there, besides like the fact that Hollywood directors like John Landis would do a thing like Thriller. But there was, I remember golden earring videos that were like watching a Bond film. Like music video and cinema really go well together.
I think it incorporates all aspects of filmmaking. And the cool thing about music videos is it gives the director freedom and the artist to take big risk. Because you're trying to capture someone's attention, you're trying to stand out, it's highly competitive. And it lends itself for more experimentation, and I love it. I mean, I grew up on it. I'm fascinated by it. I used to watch MTV all day long. I was a big, huge music fan. I have an older brother who's like 5 years older than me, and he would go out at night, and I would go into his room, and we had like the Columbia cassette things. So he had thousands of cassettes, and I would read the lyrics, and I would try to figure out what the hell the songs were about. And then it was cool. Then you would look at the music video. So I was these are like little short stories, not all music videos are short stories, but I just have always been fascinated with that format.
It's actually really cool how this evolved for you, because I did enjoy the girl from your youth finding you on Facebook and saying you've always been like this. Like, it's so cool that your natural talents were able to evolve, and you might have focused on acting for a while, but it all kind of came together in a very, I'll just use your name like an adjective, like in a very Jeff Hilliard way.
Well, what's funny is I've tried to go different paths. I've worked every weird job. I've done every possible thing. It's hard to survive in Los Angeles. And I always got pulled back into it. And it's really weird. Every time we go out to make something, it's like magic. Things happen I didn't plan. Even when the worst thing happens, like someone's supposed to show up and they decide not to, we end up shooting something really cool, or something unexpected happens. I did this music video that was very popular for me called The Good Life, where I'm like a unhoused, I guess as you say, crackhead. And I was trying to figure out why we're shooting. I have to have a window into the character, because he can't just be a crazy person. He has to have some kind of vulnerability or sympathy, that you would have sympathy for him. And while we were shooting, this cat came in the scene, and I was like, fuck. And then I was like, hold on, this is it. And so I'm smoking a meth pipe, petting the cat. And it was a subtle thing to show the vulnerability and childlike innocence of this guy who's completely, out of his mind. And so I don't know. I love the whole process of the challenge. They're all like a fight. You know, I'm like a criminal. I'm stealing locations. I'm being like a juvenile child, doing it. It's fun. It's always way more work than I would ever sign up for. It's a very, very expensive hobby I have. I guess you'd say addiction. I have made some money, directing stuff for other people and acting and stuff, but I get the most pleasure out of doing my own stuff.
Yeah. So when you, whether it starts with a song or starts with the image, when you sit down, it sounds like you're also a bit of a perfectionist. You really or not perfection, but you. There's
elements of that. I'm trying to make
standards.
something. Yeah, I'm trying to make something excellent. If I'm going to put my whole being in something, I want it to be exceptional. I want to win. I want people's heads to literally watch it and explode. Is what I'm trying to make that video. To blow people's minds. And because I'm trying to make the greatest music video ever. And it's like I'm Sisyphus. I'm pushing up this huge boulder up a hill. I'm never going to get to the top, but the whole process of it is so much fun. It's I have so many amazing memories. I drive around this city and I'm like, oh yeah, we shot that here or did that there. It's made my life much more richer and exciting. And I encourage anyone who's a creative person who, at any level, to go for it and to explore that aspect of your personality. I feel very fortunate and honored that I'm able even to make anything. I mean, I know there's a lot of bands that have had record deals and everything, and they've never even been able to make a music video or make something that they were proud of. So I feel very fortunate. I've empowered myself to do what I love. And it hasn't been easy.
No, I bet it's been a long, satisfying but long road.
Yeah, definitely. I could have gone a lot of easier paths. I could have done like the Weird Al Yankovic where I was doing like parodies, which is way more easy to write those songs. And then when an audience hears it, they're familiar with the song, so you have a broader reach and stuff. What he does is brilliant. I think he's great. But I need the challenge of trying to do. I love the challenge. I like getting myself in over my head and like not really sure how I'm going to get there. When I was a kid, I did very well under pressure. I played sports. There's been several times that I was able to shoot the ball at the end of the game and made it. I'm that guy. I want the ball. I want the pressure. That's drives the best out of me. I'm a weirdo like that. I'm not a self-sabotager. If I sense that in somebody, I get them out of my life. I can't do that.
I hear you. I identify with that too. I was always a kid who would under-prepare because I could count on myself to perform in the moment.
Right.
I guess in a way.
You need to raise the stakes.
Yeah, exactly. Once the stakes are higher, you can nail it.
Yeah.
I didn't ask, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Kansas and Colorado. And I was a little kid. I grew up in a really small town in western Kansas called Colby, Kansas, which as a kid, it is one of the most amazing ways to grow up. I mean, I would ride my bike to town like you're a young adult. I was doing all sorts of wild stuff. We, grew up shooting guns, driving motorcycles, going fishing, exploring. Hide and seek when you're a kid, when you live in the middle of nowhere is exciting, I guess. And then I moved at the perfect time, which was like in 7th grade. We moved outside of Boulder, Colorado. Those were kind of like the rebellious, crazy years. And then my senior year, my family moved to Kansas City. I stayed to play football. I tore my knee up. I tore my medial collateral meniscus and my ACL. And so I moved to a new school. I was on crutches the whole year. And then if you graduate high school in Kansas, you automatically will get admitted to a state university. So I went to the University of Kansas. I was a solid C student. I had learning disabilities that was never diagnosed. I was just drunk the whole time. I learned in my adult life I'm dyslexic, and I was diagnosed with ADHD, which then I later learned was actually trauma. This is funny. My mother dropped me so hard on my head that she thought that she killed me by accident. And I had a couple concussions. So I have like a whole world of so then I'm an alcoholic. I've been sober for many years.
I was going to say the drinking sounds like self-medication.
Yes. And the coolest thing about being an alcoholic and being sober is you have obsession of the mind. So I can obsessively go on about one of these things where a normal person will just move on with their life. They're like, this is crazy. So my dysfunction has been an asset. And in college, I could barely read and write. I would hire kids to write my papers. I put myself through college. I worked like every single job you could think of, which is also wonderful because I've been able to see life on so many different viewpoints and every different way you could imagine. And I learned how to write was through texting, because you're texting all day long every single day. And I would write scripts I learned when the app became where you could do it on your phone and you could autocorrect and all that stuff, because I'm spelling things all over the place. So it's been weird that like technology and stuff it made it for someone like myself to be able to do the stuff that I do.
Right. It helped you flourish.
Right.
And when you mentioned Boulder's a college town,
yeah,
right?
I lived outside of there.
Must have been pretty cool to be growing up near college.
Yeah, we'd go to like crazy parties and stuff. I really love Colorado. I like the people there. At the time, it was like the cocaine capital of the world, they used to say. And but thank God I didn't get into cocaine when I was like in high school. Jesus, that would have been brutal. But it was fun. I really loved it there. I love the life there. It's very active. There's like all these triathletes on their bikes all over the place. All these climbers, skiers. I grew up skiing, playing sports and stuff. I had a good childhood.
I love the sports thing too, because there's that assumption that there's creative kids and athletic kids.
Right.
And as if there's a plexiglass wall in between them. But the truth is there's a lot of athletes who have a creative part of themselves.
Right. Well, I think athletics, like being involved in like team sports and stuff, showed me how to work well with others, how to, I guess, be a leader, how to keep people, I have to be the motivated one to get stuff done. I can't rely on someone else to take charge. All the kids that were like in drama and stuff, I highly doubt any of them have gone on to work in the arts. They seem to be, they were more in my school. I'm sure in other schools are different, but they were really didn't fit in maybe in a weird way. And they needed attention, and that they did it through the structure. I got attention by just being a lunatic in school. I would do different characters. My whole goal was to make my friends laugh and keep a straight face, to get them in trouble or whatever. And I kind of trained myself to be like a comedic actor in a weird way as a child. And then college, I met some people that were kind of cool in that world, but they were still like the drama kids. I don't know. They were what they were. I mean, nothing bad. You should definitely. I know now everyone's probably into drama and stuff, but it was just kind of a weird time. I don't think wanting to be in the arts when I was younger was very cool.
Yeah, and
I grew up in the Midwest.
Clubs and like theater groups, they tend to be insular, right? Like they see you as an outsider.
Right.
Just like I said, people pretend there's this wall between sports and creativity. I knew a guy on the football team who could draw beautifully.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was funny. So in college, I didn't know there was a guy that was doing stand-up, and I'd always wanted to do that, but I didn't even know how that was a possibility. Granted, I grew up in a really small town in western Kansas, so I come from a place of everything is some other world that I don't know anything about, And I thought that was so amazing. I always wanted to do it. I just didn't know how you go about doing it. And then that guy went on and he wrote, what was a Whitey Bulger film with Johnny Depp? I can't even think of the name of it right now. He wrote that, and I ran into him out here. I can't remember.
Oh yeah, Whitey Bulger was the
lunatic,
the murderer for the mob. Who didn't he get caught in like Santa Monica?
Yeah,
or something?
he was like an informant for the FBI, and he was playing both sides. And pretty crazy story. But yeah, I don't know. It's like one of those things. If you're a creative people, I was a funny person as a kid, and I looked for other people that were funny and completely nuts, like people who had substance abuse problems and were hilarious. And my whole life was just trying to have fun, and make myself laugh and my friends. That was been my one coping skill that seems to have worked.
and you didn't discover improv / like that until you came to LA?
No, I did in college. That's when I took that class, and I was kind of like, this is like playing sports, And I remember I had to go to a play in this class, and I was so blown away. Like, how the hell did these people memorize all these lines and stuff? And so I remember I memorized a scene from the movie Stripes, where they're all sitting around, and I would get drunk with their friends, and I perform it in front of like a huge crowd of people at a party. I was just like, and that's when I kind of got into it. Like, I mean, I knew how to be funny, but it's different when you're just a funny person in real life, and then you go up on stage and do stand-up. Now that's a whole different animal. You have an audience of people that are like, you're not funny. go fuck yourself. Different now. It's so funny. I go see stand-up now. I haven't done stand-up in many years, but the audiences have changed. Everyone's like really supportive and like, you get a trophy for showing up. It's like, it's really weird. Like they'll laugh at anywhere. It's not even funny. They'll just, because they're supposed to. It's so bizarre how the audiences change. I think it's a generational thing.
Probably, yeah, because it used to be vicious. It used to be
right. It's a contact
prove
sport.
To us if you can.
Yeah, unless you're a major celebrity, you're nobody.
Yeah,
like you haven't been on the Tonight Show.
Open mics used to be so brutal. I had some friends who doing stand up and they'd invite you and you'd go to try to be supportive and you just sit there like, oh man, you should quit. You should quit.
And it takes it for me. It happened very fast. I think I did 20 stand up shows and I did like my first professional show, but it's really. It's one of those things that's really, it takes like 10 years to become a headliner. A lot of the people just need therapy. Maybe they don't need to be doing stand-up. But it is one of the most beautiful, purest art forms. The more different you are, the more oppressed, whatever you want to call it, more of an outsider, the more interesting you are. So it is kind of like the land for the disenfranchised fringe person to create a career in the arts. I loved it when I was a stand-up. I was out every night. I got cheap drinks. It helped with that. I would never perform intoxicated, but I was nuts. I hated myself. So people would want to come up to me afterwards and compliment me, and I didn't know how to take a compliment. It was like, it was never good enough.
You were harder on yourself.
Oh my God. It was like, I used to beat myself up like a crazy person.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Now my life is very simple now.
Which is excellent. And comedy is special, I think, because there's a tradition of punching up, right? Like not bullying. Like
just punching anything, right? You're against the world. I always think it's funny when they do that. It became a thing about comedians punching down. And it's like, think about this. You have a person who has to get in front of a crowd of people to try to get approval. These are people that are like, high suicide rate, mental illness. These people are down. They are at the bottom of the barrel. So I don't care what color they are, what their sexual preference. Everything to them is a punch up.
I seriously.
Unless they're a major superstar.
It was such a thing. But even the superstars, I remember, when I got old enough, I grew up a huge Steve Martin stand-up fan.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
And to find out that like he was hard on himself the whole time and depressed and I was like, what? He wasn't like proud of his work.
Well, think how crazy it is. I'm gonna go up in front of the most scared thing the most fearful thing someone has is getting in front of a crowd of people and speaking. Now I'm not just gonna get in front of them and talk to them. I'm going to come up like, hey, I'm funny and I'm gonna make you laugh and entertain you. Like, what kind of a lunatic just says they're gonna do that? It's a funny breed of people.
Yeah. And you tried that before or concurrently with acting?
No, I started out, I fell into doing stand-up right away. I was out one night and I ran into a friend of mine I knew in Colorado and I went to high school and he saw me, he's like, oh my God, don't tell me. You're a stand-up comic now. And I never told anyone I was going to do it. I hadn't done it yet. And I was like, and then
so it was just in the back of your mind.
Yeah, I wanted to. I just didn't know how to go about doing it. And then I was working at this like really fancy restaurant. And how I've made a living for many years was I would bartend and I was really funny and I would just be entertaining to make money. And then I worked there as a waiter. And the busboys would be like, what the fuck are you saying to these people? Because I would just be completely insane and make them laugh and give them great service I would see if they were into it. Some people don't want to be bothered. They're on business or a date or whatever. And then they put me behind the bar because they wanted me to create a bar crowd and stuff. And so this guy gave me, the manager, I had to work like a double, so he gave me 2 free tickets to the Improv. And I went down there and I befriended some comedians and this one was like a celebrity comic, and he was talking to me, and then he goes, here, tell me you're a comic, you get, cheap drinks. That's all I need to hear. It was like, wait, what? And so then I went and watched his set, and the guy was so brilliant. I was like, holy shit. He became like a friend and like a mentor. And then I met Drew Carey. He told me he recommended some books to read, because I knew how to be funny, and I'm a creative person, but when you're a highly creative person, what you need is structure. So I had to learn structure, and Then I did Second City when they came to town. It was like the first year they did it. I think Derek Waters was, he did Drunk History. Ben Hoffman, who does Walker Wheeler Jr. There's like so many guys that have gone on to Simon, the guy that's on that Big Bang Theory. And so I got to work with all these different people and stuff that have gone on to have great careers. But I learned a lot in that. And I was actually in like other real acting classes and stuff. And I just didn't really, I appreciated the what they were doing, but it just seemed a little ridiculous. And I ended up working for this family, and I lived behind Billy Bob Thornton. I worked for this family, and I lived in their guest house, and Billy Bob Thornton lived behind me. And I had at the time, the most attractive girlfriend you could ever have. And so Billy Bob was like, who the hell is this guy? So we became friends, and he gave me like the most brilliant insight, because I was in this acting class, and some of the guys in there were like, dude, you're really good. You're going to be a working actor. But I felt like I was a fraud because I wasn't doing what they were teaching. I was doing what I knew how to do. And it was amazing because Billy Bob was someone, the weirdness of this, when I saw Sling Blade, it made me want to be a character actor. And then I randomly ended up living behind him. It was like so surreal. And then one night, Eddie Van Halen comes over. So I'm in the kitchen with Billy Bob Thornton and Eddie Van Halen. I'm like, is this real? Are we living in a simulation? Like, what is this? But he told me the one thing I needed to know that was my only trick I had, but I didn't know that I was doing it right, was he goes, people would ask him what his craft is, his method, and he didn't know how to answer that because he just plays himself real in the situation. And that was like the thing, which is so simple. You know, there's a genius in simplicity, and that's the answer to everything. Like, what's the simplest path? And that's all I've ever done, is I make myself the character. There's energy, there's all that sort of stuff, and then I allow myself to be that character, and I make it real, like this is real life. And that's my trick I have if anyone's trying to become an actor. That's all you got to do. Don't save your money. No, you don't need acting classes.
And that totally plays into so I'm remembering the Q&A from Film Invasion LA back in June, and how you said, right, you got the van and someone called it a rape van, and you said, rape van, no, consensual sex van.
Yeah.
And then like the whole thing was born, and then you just did something of yourself in that character. Right.
I was going to do a podcast out of a van, and then I wrote a television pilot around a character who was a life coach. It's a narcissistic lunatic who created a jumpsuit line that didn't work out, so he decided he was going to create a whole philosophy around the jumpsuit, and he was going to have his mobile office in his van. And then like the joke was that some guy in the apartment building was like, nice rape van, creep. And he's like, well, there's no one getting raped in here, and if there was the sex, it would be consensual. And that's how that song came about. Yes. Yeah. And you used Billy Bob's advice, which is, because I get it, like I've seen 3 music videos now, and when you're performing the acting parts of them, you're definitely just amplifying a part of yourself. Right. I mean, I'd make it as if I was this lunatic, because you have to make... you make it true to that character. Right. And the only way that an audience is going to buy in is if there is some kind of empathy towards it. You know what I mean? I'm not into cartoon stuff. I know like young kids and people acting over the top goofy, but I feel it's like a duty if you're going to be a storyteller, especially do satire. I mean, it's like the heart. I was told it's the highest level of humor to do, and to do it well, And the one thing that's fun about a music video is I can kind of turn it up a little bit. I can be a little bit over the top, but if you go too far, it won't work. But it has to have an element of realism for people to buy in, to get into it. And are you storyboarding? Are you planning things out? God,
you said you
there's
write on the phone.
There's going to be a lot of filmmaker people that are going to go, what the fuck did he just say? No, I do it all in my head. And my cinematographer and I, we've worked together for so long that we have such a shorthand with each other that I know exactly what I want to have shot. And sometimes I don't know, which I like. I like to be in the moment to improv something. And that's some of my favorite things we've done have been just in the moment. And that's how I do it.
Right, and you can just communicate to him,
we're going to shoot this,
what you want to get caught, and then you create something in that frame. I
usually have a pretty loose thing, so we're not just going in it blind. I mean, we have done stuff like that, but it's usually I know who the character is, and then I go whatever the location is, and that location will tell me what the character is doing in the location. And we work very fast. I use a very, very small crew. as minimal people as possible, because we can get way more done than if I had some massive production. And I mean, if I was doing like a major film, of course everything would be storyboarded, so I would be able to communicate to the entire crew what we're doing. So it's not just like we're following some maniac around. But we're just like two kids having fun, and that are skilled at what we're doing.
Yeah, and that allows you the freedom to, whether you're stealing a location or grabbing, and like you said, moving. You remind me of that film. What was it? I think there was an indie film like 10, 15 years ago called Small, Fast, and Out of Control or something. But it was the description of the crew was that we're small, we're fast. We don't have to control it,
Yeah, it's like sometimes it's been like we're a bank robber, we're like, and it's fun. I don't know. It's more fun doing this than being an actual criminal.
And the technology has paid off now, right? Because now your cinematographer has a camera that doesn't require a van of support for it.
No. And oh my God, let me tell you something. When the DSLR came about and you could put lenses on there and people didn't know that you could shoot video on it yet, normal people. So we shot this music video where I'm in a priest outfit, and we're at the Santa Monica Pier. I'm riding rides and doing stuff, and we're shooting video and all these inserts.
You look like you're on vacation.
Yeah, this guy's taking photographs of like I'm the priest of the month or something, and we were able to steal so much stuff like that. Oh my God, it was so brilliant. I may think now that everyone's camera is a video thing. I don't think anyone cares anymore, but there was a time when it would be like a crisis because everyone's feels they need to get paid a lot of money because of their location.
Oh, for sure. Locations, especially you came to LA where every bar owner, every restaurant owner, every coffee shop knows like, oh, you want to shoot here? Yeah, give me $5-10 for that, right?
People
and
are
then
so
you hear the stories of the people who, in Iowa.
Oh my God. They're just excited you're there. And I wanted, actually, I was talking to a friend the other day. I want to move into a place where I can get more specific with my videos and stuff and do different locations around the world, around the country. It is like a dream of mine. I'm going to be able to do.
Well, it looks like, looking at the videos, I mean, the sand dunes.
Yeah, that was a 3.5 hour drive south of Los Angeles by the Salton Sea, and it's pretty beautiful to see. It's very, I mean, I knew for this music video Abandon that we did a guitar solo, and I was kind of obviously biting and paying homage to the Slash guitar solo in November Rain, and just like how over the top that was. We have I got a drone operator, this guy Chad, that like races drones, but he wanted to get into doing videos and stuff, and so I needed that solo to just be so over the top and epic. And Rod Castro is the person who did the solo, who is such a brilliant musician and one of the nicest, most amazing guys you've ever met. He played with Beyonce, plays with all the studio musicians, he's played with everybody. And then Dave Pino, Rod was on tour. And so Dave Pina, who was in the band Andrew WK, my music producer friend sent him to it, and he loved it. And he paid me the most amazing compliment ever. It was like, this is the best thing he's ever been a part of as far as being a music video. And then he told me, I sent him the next one I want to do, which is like this super aggressive Metallica song called Stepfather. And he told me, he goes, dude, I will quit my life right now to join your band. Like if I was to do a live show. And he goes, which this is the best compliment ever. He said to me, he goes, dude, if I was in Steel Panther, Jack Black, Darkness, or any other band that does like funny songs, and he goes, if I heard this, I would quit immediately. Because he goes, you've set the bar so high that, I mean, I think that's silly. I think all those people are brilliant. They're not going to obviously quit.
That's an incredibly cool compliment,
right?
And you could tell it was from the heart.
Yeah, that guy is another unbelievably brilliant, talented, lovely person. And that's my favorite thing about being a creative and having, I've done some things that people have respect for. So I've been able to work with like really amazing people. And one thing I know, that people that are typically really brilliant at something are usually some of the loveliest, most brilliant, lovely people you've ever met. Kindest, funniest, genuine. So if someone's out there trying to be a creative and they've been hearing horror stories, just become the best at something, and you're going to attract in a bunch of other interesting people.
Well, it sounds like when you talked about, I totally agree with you about the team sports thing and learning how to lead and collaborate and know that you you have to rely on that other person. Like
Right.
you mentioned basketball, I think. So obviously the assist is as important as the shot
Of course.
and whatnot. And when you get that, and everything's top down, right? So as producer, singer, everything.
Yeah, I'm ridiculous. I'm the casting director. I'm the location scout manager. I'm craft services. I'm everything on the thing, and it's totally fine. I have no ego. I'm just happy that I'm able to try to make one. You know,
Yeah, and your quality treatment of others leads the whole set to be
right.
Everyone. If someone acted like an asshole, they wouldn't even try it, right?
Right. No, I mean, I think I did this one music video. We did it called the Dry Humping Peeping Tom, which was so ridiculous. And I think there was like 18 or 20 people, and I don't think any of them had ever worked as an actor and stuff. And so they're all just sitting in the circle. And so we did a performance stuff first. So I had to show them like, okay, I fully commit to this. And it allowed them to know like, oh, this is cool. Because I think that's what acting and stuff is in performing. It's like we're going to go back to being kids again, or we didn't have any kind of self-conscious weirdness and stuff. We're just playing. And that video is so outrageous. I mean, it's completely ridiculous. But that I learned a lot from that. You know, like that's the one great thing about it, if you're an actor director and if you're able to do that, when you show up and you're fully committed, it allows them to know like, oh, we're not fucking around here. We have to be all in. It also raises the stakes for them.
Yeah, and they know that they can take risks and
Right.
they're not going to be standing out like a sore thumb.
Right. When Bernard had me in the Frankenstein movie, and the first scene we shot, like, it was just me in an alleyway in a cop car, and I did the thing before we shot. I go, do you want any notes or anything? And he just looks at me and goes, surprise me. And I was like, oh my God, thank God, this is me. So I did it and everything was great. And then I did the scenes with Xavier, the lead actor. And this dude's like, you know, you're with a professional athlete, and the commitment is so there that it was amazing. Like, cause some of the scenes we shot, I don't even remember shooting them. I was so into what we were doing. And I remember we went to a screening and everyone's performance was so good. And I just remember the anxiety of like, please God, don't suck. Cause you're going to stand out. It's going to be really bad. And thank God it went well and everyone was into it. But I love it. I love working with really talented people that are like, you raise the stakes. Like to me, it's my life depends on it. I put that much pressure on myself and I think I'm Christian Bale. I'm gaining weight. I'm losing weight. I'm transforming into these characters, which no one would put this much energy into making some silly music video, you know, but it's fun. I love it.
For sure. And then talk about a great role model for a director of someone who says, surprise me.
Right.
Like, obviously, whatever. It's a 90-10 thing where 90% of actors would shit their pants in that
Right.
moment. Like, no, direct me.
Right.
But then there's 10% that would flourish, and he could probably tell.
Well, he knew my videos before he cast me, and I remember he had me come over and read the script, and then him and the producer, and they said, we want you to play this part, and I was like, what? Like, it was brilliant. But this is what a really good director's skill is. They know how to cast. They know how to cast really good talent, and a really good director. And I've worked with some amazing directors. Literally, they don't do anything, and that's where you have a mark of a really brilliant person, because they know how to. It's like if I hired someone to build something in my house, and I know their work and they do a good job, I'm not going to be standing over them like, this nail needs to be 2 inches over there. You know, you get good people, and then you get the hell out of their way.
Yeah, and trusting and not having that ego where you feel you have to adjust everything a little
Right.
just so that you have something to do.
That's a problem when you work on sometimes bigger stuff where people are trying to show their worth of being there and trying to act like, oh, this is my role and you need to show respect to it. You know, I did some commercials for a company, and it was just, oh my God, it was like a comedy show itself. Like, all these people have jobs where they all want to be the director. So they're all giving me like the worst cliche ideas ever that was maybe 10 years ago. That was something, and they don't understand. Like, I'm like, my name's on this. I'm not, and just the madness of working with all the people that have to, flex their role or something, and the endless emails and the conference calls and the meetings, and I mean, it's madness. So I never really wanted to get into that world. I'm glad I've been able to stay in my own little world of just doing my stuff.
Yeah, because your stuff is the opposite of that. I mean,
Right.
you're keeping a small team where you know everyone's going to
Right.
do the right thing. And
I
you can
couldn't
just-
live in the ego of all that, because then you'd have to kind of take on an ego too to push back, I guess. I don't know that
That's
that
true.
pays
If you,
well.
right? If you stay too nice, if you
Yeah.
stay too open to other ideas, and
Yeah.
all the other ideas suck.
Yeah. I mean, there's one time I think I wrote an email back to this producer telling him in a very sophisticated way on many points of how he can go fuck himself. And I paused. I didn't send it. I just, I gave him enough rope that he would, hung himself. And then like the producer was stealing money from the production. They were forcing me to use this editor. I show up with the editor. And it's all planned out what we shot, and I'm like, okay, show me what you got. And he hasn't done anything. He's going to sit there and have me tell him what to do as he edits each thing. And I'm like, motherfucker, I can edit. But what are we paying you for? And then so I got rid of him and then got my editor to make, to my people, which was, I don't know, I didn't have a good experience. I mean, I'm down to direct commercials or whatever, with the right people, but it was just one of those things where I was like, every time I've kind of dipped my toe into that, and I've directed some music videos and stuff, but it was never anything I really was that passionate about, because I'm usually just kind of doing their vision and I'd be of service to it, and were very happy. I mean, it would have been fun to be in a music video in the 90s when you had these massive budgets and stuff. God, that would have been a lot of fun. But I don't know. I get a lot of bands that they have a, $500 and they want me to make a $300,000 music video. Like no one understands.
They've seen what you do.
Yeah.
And they want that quality for nothing.
Right. And I'm just like, and they're like, the exposure. And I'm like, dude, I'm a 50-year-old straight white male. No one's hiring me to direct anything. I don't care. I don't care about being a director. Like, I don't care about the exposure. I'd rather just be an anonymous fucking weirdo doing my videos. No one's going to care. No one's going to see that. I'm sorry, I could go on. I'm very nice, but in my adult life, I've enjoyed evolving into being an asshole when it's appropriate.
I'm with you 100%. I mean, obviously, I've always had friends who are creatives, and I have friends who are illustrators, and, they are always sharing the, do you walk up to a plumber and say, hey, it would be great exposure for you to fix my leaks?
Yeah, we're going
like all the neighbors will hear about you and you'll get another job. Like, no, you don't ask them to work for free. Like,
I'm going to post this on my Instagram. I've paid a bunch of fake followers. I'm an influencer. We live in a really funny world. I created where I did the Multitude music video. I don't know if you saw that, but I have a place I art directed, this apartment, and I was going to rent it out for locations and stuff, and that's where I was doing my podcasts. But I would have these Instagram influencer women that would contact me and try to get me to let them shoot there for free, and then it would be great exposure. And I didn't really know. I was like, why does this person have like 100,000 followers? So then I just did a tiny bit of investigating. I just started looking at the people that they followed them, and like they have 0 posts, and their account's private, and they're following 5,000 people, and 3 people are following them. I'm like, oh, this is one of those things where they bought a bunch of. You just buy a bunch of stuff and you go up to people and hustle them, and that's what talent is today, is like your social media grift. And that's what we celebrate today, is like this weird grifting hustle. I'm a famous person because I've paid all this money to look like I'm famous. What is this?
and even if it's real, I know a couple people who haven't cheated the numbers, but I got to be careful about what I say here, but like there was I have seen a film where the filmmaker has like over 50,000 followers on TikTok or something,
right.
And they're like, "Oh, I'm promoting my screening," and no one shows up,
of course,
because no one is a fan on social media and then gives a shit about the real world. They're
right.
like, "You want me to leave home? No, I'm going to stay home and look at my phone tonight."
Well, you see, what I learned this from stand-up. You have to be able to put butts in seats. That's what talent is. That's what show business is. Can you put butts in seats? I mean, I could sell out a small venue in Los Angeles, no problem. You put me in like the middle of nowhere, no. You know what I mean? Like, and that's my goal, is to keep, it's so hard, it's so competitive because people are so overwhelmed with stuff. But I read this book called Music 2.0 many years ago, and it was all about trying to cultivate 1,000 super fans. And those are people that they support you, they're all in, and if you were to put something out, they would buy it. And the 80-20 rule, where you focus on all of your attention towards those people. The random people that are kind of amused, that's not what I'm going for. You want to go for, and it's kind of interesting because we've never had a time in history where you could actually directly contact the creative. I mean, when I was a kid, I wasn't like sending messages to Maynard, and if he didn't respond, I'm like, fuck Tool. Like, do you know what I mean? It's completely. But now I do all that. Every single person that messages me, I take time to respond to them. I mean, I've had, obviously, I had some QAnon crazies. I've had like. And if you're into that, it's great, but I'm not a part of some Illuminati blood cult killing people. I think I'd be a lot more successful if that was real. Like, you know what I mean? Like the insanity. But I try to do all the stuff because I see myself as a very, very small business that's trying to get off the ground. And I am grateful that anyone that even likes what I do, participates in it, thinks it's funny, shares it with their friends. We're kindred spirits. I want to hang out. I want to connect with people. And that was how I've been since I was a little kid. I didn't fit into school. I learned how to make friends by making them laugh. I wanted to have friends. That's the first thing I asked my mother when she dropped me off for kindergarten. I was like, how do I make friends? And she just kind of looks at me and I go, do I go up and ask them if they'll be my friend? And she just laughed. And there was another kid whose name was Jeff, and I thought that was my window in. We have the same name. And I'm like, hey, do you want to be my friend? I mean, that's just how I've lived life. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm trying,
Funny question. Only child or?
No, I have an older brother, and of course I'm a middle child. Middle. Of course. Gotcha. With this personality, just had to fight your way for some attention.
Yeah, or you could be the youngest, because I know youngest often is the entertaining kid. Like,
are they? I didn't know that.
I don't know. I think birth order really does have a big effect.
I always knew the middle child could be the black sheep, could be the wild one, the one that's like... It could go many directions, Right, yeah, because the oldest has to be responsible, the youngest has to be cute, and then the middle can do... Yeah, the oldest had to be like the leader. Yeah, but the middle has to set off a bomb to get attention. And then the youngest, my sister's like a year younger than me, so all the attention goes to her, and she's a baby and stuff. Right, and when you're younger, so at age... It really matters when you're young. You're barely 2, and there's already a cuter thing in the house. Right. Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, I had a lot of work. I had my work cut out for me. And then you get older, I don't want anything, I know my I love the fact that I make my mother laugh, but it's like I don't, it's you kind of evolve out of that, obviously. But yeah, it's somewhere. It's like it's that little light somewhere in the center of the chest. But yeah, you don't. You've satisfied that audience. I was like, I'm not getting attention from my family. I'm going to have to go out there in the world and do it the hard way. I heard Letterman say something very much the same. But yeah, for sure. And it's really cool to hear that people who have seen the music videos and seen your work are pulling you into other things. Yeah. Oh my God. I would never, it's so hard to work as an actor, to get to be in a film with a legitimate director. And, I got to be in a Paul Schrader film, which was crazy. And that happened because a friend of mine knew the producer. He showed him my stuff. We would randomly met a few times. He thought it was funny. And then he contacts me and goes, and let me audition for it. And I thought like, oh, this is one of those nice things. It'll be me and like 500 people. And I got there, and there was no one else. There was like a bunch of women that he was casting for something else. And I'm not thinking that Paul Schrader's actually going to be there. I mean, it's like some Hollywood legend. So I'm sitting there, and I see him walk in. I'm like, oh my God, this is real. So it was great because it made me, like, it raised the stakes all the way. I did the audition, and it was just, it was what's called a day player. It was like a 1-day part. Usually when they have day players, they usually cast close to actors that live close to location. And I did my audition, and he turned to the producer and he said, look, I think we should cast really good actors. Like, we should cast really good actors like Jeff for all the other parts as well. And I was like, holy shit, Paul Schrader just, you know what I mean? It was, and then I left there and I was like, I couldn't believe this. And then apparently he told me he cast me right as I walked out of the room, but he didn't tell me for like a week. And then I got this, that was an amazing experience because it was starring Willem Dafoe and Nicolas Cage. And my other friend played a lead on it. And so I go to the set, I did my thing, which was a lot of fun. I got to do a lot of improv. And I go to the set, and my friend who I've known forever is playing the lead, and he introduced me to Willem Dafoe, and he was like, William, you need to meet Jeff. He's a genius, which is, I don't know where you go. I'm like, that's a little much, And hi, nice to meet you. I'm a genius. Yeah. He's like, who the fuck is this guy? No, but obviously the nicest person, as you would imagine, like just such a brilliant actor, and genuinely a really fascinating, curious person of life,
I mean, you're kind of proving in a really nice and cool way that being a personable, good person is paying off too.
Well, that I've met a lot of, since I've been in Los Angeles, I've met a lot of people. Well, majority of, it's easy. If you live in the city, you're going to meet everybody. And I've noticed that people that are really talented performers, they always have exceptional people skills. And you realize that's how they got to where they're at. You can't be like a terrible person. It's going to be really hard unless you have some very specific talent that no one else does. And I think that is in most aspects of life. Unless you're like a CEO and you have to be a sociopath or something, you have to be a killer. But being a good person does pay off. Just have good boundaries. Know how to be an asshole if you need to be, so you're not a pushover. Because when you move to Los Angeles, it's like you get jumped into the city. The first 6 months, people know you're from out of town, and the lunatics are coming at you because they need new blood too. New people that don't know their hustle. So you kind of grow up fast when you move out here.
For sure. And yeah, when you're an asshole, it's when you're counterpunching, right? Like
right.
You're not an asshole first.
No, of course not. Never.
It's just something in the toolbox.
Yeah, if someone's terrible to me, I just mirror it back to themselves.
Yeah.
Let them know, like, let's go. I'm ready. You know what I mean? Like, I know how to be that stupid as well. You know, it's just that it's a protection. People don't mess with you. If you're amongst a bunch of wolves, like I can put on my wolf costume as well. Because that's what they really are. They're just scared people. Usually bullies are just frightened kids that were bullied and stuff. But if you stand up to them, then they're like, okay, we're cool. I got to go find some weak person to...
Yeah, they move on.
Yeah, that I can pull my hustle on.
Cool. Yeah. And you're just on a path now, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to build up an audience. My goal is hopefully I could build up big of an audience to put out a full album. I'm going to try to do this film that would be a part of that, and then hopefully I could build into doing a live show. And then I'd like to do this the rest of my life. I think the older I get, the funnier it gets. I know like Mick Jagger's like 80 years old. If I'm doing these songs and videos at 80, it gets even better. So I'm in it for the duration, and I'll do it until I fall over.
It's a good point. And yeah, you're reminding me how the music business after the internet now, it's the live performances are where it's really
can make any money. Yeah, that merchandise.
The only money.
They've taken away it's hard for the streaming. And in the music industry is really challenging because they don't want to get the lightning in the bottle of the youth. And usually they're getting people that are just like whatever, a TikTok star, and they surround a bunch of brilliant people behind him, but they're not maybe a real artist, so they're not going to have much longevity. So they're pumping all this money into something that just sounds like something else, which is really funny. You realize it's not very many brilliant people in that business because you don't the longevity of something. Like you think of like American Idol, put Tom Petty on there, let's put Tom Waits on there, let's put you name it. They would never they would not even get past the first. They're not real artists, It's just these really brilliant karaoke singers, and it's really sad. Like I enjoyed like the film world, like in the 70s when they would just give money to directors and let them do whatever they want, and you have all these like brilliant films. Like that seems to be the business model that makes sense. You find a brilliant creative and just give them resources and get the hell out of their way. You're going to do better than this this Frankenstein of all these ideas that have worked in the past to try to force something on people than to try to put some political narrative. I mean, Hollywood has become the lamest place ever, and it's kind of fun to watch it fall apart. The night of the Oscars when Will Smith was in an after party holding his Oscar, dancing to Get Jiggy With It, and the sycophants around him with a videotaping it, and I was like... First of all, Will Smith's music is crimes against humanity. It's like the worst stuff I've ever heard in my life. And I can't even believe that this person's an artist or a thing. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I was actually in one of his music videos when I was a kid. I'm sure he's a lovely person. Great personality. But I don't know why we're forcing this like low vibration, moronic stuff on people and then we're celebrating it. I would love to live in a world where art was elevating the world we live in. And so people would not be so miserable and angry. Like all of a sudden I become like a self-help. I go in some crazy rant.
Well, and you're also preaching to a choir
of
because
anyone listening is probably
to me Will Smith was like a one-hit wonder as a kid and then just started remaking Stevie Wonder songs.
Yeah, and
every couple of years, and it was
that was the show.
When you I forget. I think there was a comedian, and I don't know if it was about Will Smith or not, but they went from sampling like moments of songs to sampling the whole song.
Right. And it's like, and I just, God love him, because how hard it would be to be a young black kid that's being forced to do this commercially. Like, you're the safe black guy. Like, what? I mean, how racist is that? I mean, this is like...
No, the whole concept of Fresh Prince. Yeah.
It's so crazy, you know? I mean, look, I was a big fan of the Jeffersons, Moving On Up, which there's no way that would be made today. I mean, God, that guy, he was so brilliant. And Red Fox and all of these, like, brilliant shows.
I thought Sanford and the Son was the greatest thing in the world as a kid. He was so fucking funny. He was funny. And then when VHS hit and you could rent a Red Fox concert video, I remember Comedy in a Brown Paper Bag.
Right.
And I found out he was the dirtiest comedian ever, right? The most blue.
And of course, the guy who's doing the most PG stuff, Bill Cosby's, is drugging and raping everybody. Do you know what I mean? Of course. So when I was a kid, I remember seeing Richard Pryor. I was really young at a babysitter's house, and they didn't know what I was in the room watching that, and I was so blown away. And then Eddie Murphy was so brilliant on Saturday Night Live. And I went to see Eddie Murphy when I was like a freshman in high school, do a stadium show. I think it was not the first one; it was Raw, I think is what I saw. And to me, to see a guy by himself on a stage in front of 18,000 people with a microphone, and he was giving all of these strangers joy. I was like, that's what I want to do. If I can give people I'll never meet in my life, from watching one of my videos, I can make someone laugh or take them out of a bad place, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. There was a friend of mine, she years ago, she was home for Thanksgiving, and her sister has seizures. And her mother... was crying because her sister kept having seizures, and it was much worse than it has been in a long time. And so she showed her my first music video, which is making fun of misogyny. I did this about 14 years ago, called The Pussy Pounder. So bad. And so she's this woman's in her 70s, and she was laughing her ass off. And then so she told me, like, a couple days later, she bust in her room and she goes, "Oh my God, have you seen Balls?" Which is like this transvestite prostitute. Like, it's another crazy character video. And just the idea that my target audience is not really a 20-year-old. People that are in their 70s and 80s really appreciate what I do. I think that's amazing, because it is very dark satire. It's very subversive. My mother has, like, her friends, she's in her 80s, that they're like, "When's this next video coming out?" And they love the craziest ones. You know, it's kind of funny. You never thought when you were a kid, would you ever think that the coolest people on the planet were like the 80-year-olds?
No, of course not.
That had like the best taste in art and stuff. I mean, it's like...
well, that's one of the...
Everything's upside down.
I mean, you bring it up an amazing topic, which is like now, from like age, whatever it is, 12 to 90, there's just cool people and lame people.
Right.
And like there's cool people of all ages now.
Oh my God. I met with a director yesterday, wants to hire me to shoot a music video. He's doing a film and wants me to do a music video to make fun, like a satirical thing that I do. And he said that his AD or AC, I can't remember what it was, is a young lady, and she respects what I do as a creative and an artist and the craftsmanship, but doesn't think she would like me as a person because of my humor. And I was like, oh, it's like the virtue signal thing. And I'm like, does she understand I'm making fun of what she's virtue signaling? But no one understands satire that's realistic. It's kind of funny. I would be more happy if more people didn't like my stuff. They're all like really nice comments. The last video I had one comment where the guy didn't like the music, but I wish people would really be like, because there's something funny when someone doesn't get something and they're so outraged they're going off.
And it is weird that she would think she wouldn't like you when you like the song and like the music video. But you bring up something that fascinates me. Like now, like you said about creatives, everyone I meet at the festivals now, it's really nice. And even people make the weirdest, most fucked up, like you have to be high to appreciate it film. And then you meet them and they're perfectly, like, you're thinking, wow, what kind of insane person made that movie? Right. And then they're perfectly nice. Well, and like 30 years ago, 20 years ago, film festivals were full of assholes because everyone thought they were the next Kevin Smith or something.
I've met a lot of people that will know my work and this is going on now for like 10 years, and they'll meet me and they're totally let down and disappointed because they think I'm like in real life a lunatic, crazy maniac, and then they meet me and they're like, God, you could be my neighbor, you're totally normal. And it's it's really fun. I think that like there's like no one would want to give me credit to have any talent to do a character that I'm just actually really am that person in the video, and it's like a documentary or something, which is funny because it's a compliment. It's actually I see it as a compliment.
Yeah, and if they watch enough videos, they'd realize that there's different characters being played. Yeah.
Well, another thing I really love is I meet all these people and they all have a different favorite one. Thank God that they only like one video that's their favorite. So that's inspiring that people they like different things I've done.
For sure. Very cool. Well, do you want to name, I know jeffhilliard.tv
yes,
is your
that's
website.
my website. And then at Jeff Hilliard is my Instagram. If you go into YouTube, it's Jeff Hilliard Show. If you could just put me in Google and you'll be able to find me.
Yeah, you're Googleable, which is nice. It's
bunch of weird pictures.
we Jeff sometimes is like, Jeff Howard. I couldn't get anything with my name, but
I was thinking of maybe add another F to my name, like Jeff with 3 Fs, just to have some diversity in my.
I joked with my lady that I was going to change my J to a K.
That's a good.
Because if someone like at the festival said, "Hey, Kef," I would turn. So, and then at least it would be like spelled differently.
That's good. That's a good idea.
Because I don't know. Everyone decided to start naming their kids Jeffs in the late 60s.
You got 2 first names. Now, if you had one more, you would have been a great serial killer. You'd have potential. Like 3 names and 3 first. Really? What's your middle name?
Evan.
But if you were to go by Jeff Evan Howard, if you ever wanted to be a serial killer, there you go.
That's true.
Right?
And dress like a clown.
Right.
And, well, no, I would, well, anyway, I won't joke about who I would murder.
But there's a lot. Hopefully the right people. They always kill the wrong ones. That's what's so heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's that Hollywood fantasy of like the serial killer who only gets bad people.
Right. right. Like Dexter, isn't it? Is Dexter
like
that?
Yeah, that's the Dexter concept. Believe me, when someone submits a film about that, I'm like, I'm not gonna give this one a 10 out of 10.
Is every film that's submitted now like some sort of woke social activist? Everyone I meet is like, every time I meet someone, they let me know they're social activist, filmmaker. Everyone's like saving the planet with their film. I think it's amazing that people have that kind of ambition and that they believe that their film is going to save the world's problems, which I'm impressed because I didn't have that self-esteem.
Well, to answer the question, I mean, drama, probably.
Right.
But thankfully, our festivals separate things into like comedy, not so much. Horror, not so much. Art house experimental. Sometimes it's pretty wokey, but documentaries are, of course, like very.
I've had a hard time. I go to all these festivals, and I get the idea that it's like I am a marginalized thing, and it's all about that. There's no story. There's no character arc. It's like, what are we doing here? It's insulting. I'm literally offended that I'm forced to see that, and they win too, which is funny. I was at one and like the audience was going nuts with my video. I did the Q&A. All the questions were at me, and I'm just thinking like, well, maybe I'll win I don't really care if I win or not. I'm only going there because my sister's husband is like really competitive with me, and I'm going there just to get a photo of him in front of the Steppenry Peaks. I know it bums him out, and he's not even a creative person. So I'm just there for that. I don't need all the other stuff. It's hilarious. I'm just excited. I'm excited anyone would even see my stuff, but the humor of that world is really funny. And I get it. I'm all about supporting diversity and giving people the opportunity and stuff. But I'm like, could we have a story going on here? Maybe a story arc. It's wild.
You definitely.
I'm the tough audience, though.
I bet. Well, I don't know if you can remember back to June, but I think you were in a pretty good block.
Yeah, yours was great.
Yeah,
you had a lot of great.
Because we actually just care about quality, and not subject.
Listen, there's always something I see at one of these things that blows me away. I'm always like, oh my God, that was so brilliant. And then there's the stuff that I'm like, what's going on here? And then there's a few things I'm like, oh my God, this is like, what is happening here? Does the person know the film festival person? Like, I don't even, but I'm sure that's like with all of them. Who knows?
I am guilty of like seeing stuff at other film festivals that were submitted to one of ours and like, I would have given it like under 5 out of 10. And I'm like, okay, so how's it in that one? They just don't give a fuck. They just want the premiere. They just want to sell tickets to the cast and crew, right? I think that's probably.
And then also I find it funny when like use the Consensual thing, which is we did that for like $25,000. That's like a $350,000 music video. I've had friends of mine that work in the business that tell me it. And I'm submitting this season, and it hasn't it's gotten to a lot of festivals and done very well. But the ones that it doesn't get in, I'm like, what's going on in that selection process? And I kind of figure they seem to all have they curate a different theme for each year because of the submissions they got, which I've kind of noticed all these festivals I've been in. There seems to be a theme to all the videos in the block, and maybe that's how they ends up. I don't know what people are doing. It doesn't even matter. It's also silly. But
yeah, I don't know. I can't talk to that because our festival intentionally we like the potpourri, we like eclectic. Yeah. So I think there's nothing. Actually, I think that's one of the things I loved about the block you were in is it was like started with your music video, which like you said, you want your music videos to make people's brains explode. Like first time I saw your music video in a room over here in this house, I was like, holy fuck! Well, that I know I can trust our selection jury that it was going to be like no matter what that one's in, like I'll fight for that one, but I didn't have to. And then I think it was like after that was like a maybe a little horror film and then a comedy. And, like I love putting different things together
because that's how people's minds work anymore,
right?
Right?
I have a theme of all like let's have a bunch of satire all in a row. It's like no, like you want to laugh and then you want to have a break and then you want to see something like totally scary and then you want to laugh again. Like, yeah.
I want to keep them entertained.
Right.
Keep them guessing. Gotta be unpredictable.
For sure. Hell, that's what every stand-up comedian tells you. You gotta like give the audience those moments to breathe, right? Yeah,
of course. Create tension.
Yeah. When you get whatever they call it, an applause break, you don't want to hit it with another and another because you'll burn them out.
You gotta let them breathe.
Yeah, gotta let it breathe. All right. Well, that was really fun. Anything you want to throw in before we jump off?
If someone's listened this long, I mean, you're amazing. They're probably tired of hearing my voice at this point.
Which is funny. That's what I always say. That I'm like, if you're still listening, I'm about to rattle off all the social media handles and websites for the film festivals.
I'll say one thing. If you want to support me and you want to help me, leave comments on the YouTube videos. It really helps with the algorithm. That's what my life has come down to, is I'm just reduced to a person asking people to leave comments. Don't just message me how much you love it. And send it to your friends. You can message me. I will definitely appreciate all the messages, and I'm a normal person you can interact with.
That is funny that someone would bother to send you a message, but not bother to put the comment and the thumb up.
A lot. Well, I think a lot of people, because the stuff I do is provocative and subversive, they think that somehow their employers are going to, I don't know. We live in some weird world now where it's like this, everyone's getting canceled. I don't even know. So it's okay. I don't have to. I mean, if they can, that's if you are so inclined and you want to help me, that's helpful.
Hey, I'm about to grade grub myself. So yeah, make sure to comment and like and be cool for all of Jeff's music videos.
That's such a lame thing. This is the world we live in.
I know, but now I'm about to mention. So you're listening to the Discover Indie Film Podcast, and you can learn more about it at discoverindiefilm.com, and it's at DIF Wins on social media. And I don't know if you know, but a TV series is born out of this. All the shorts end up or not all the shorts, but many of the shorts end up on a TV series on Amazon Prime. And if you want to be a really nice person, like and subscribe to the podcast, leave nice comments, give that TV series on Amazon 5 stars. And yeah, we talked about Film Invasion Los Angeles. That is every June. You can learn more about that festival at filminvasionla.com, and it's at Film Invasion LA on social media. And there's a sister festival every November. You can learn about the Sherman Oaks Film Festival if you go to ShermanOaksFF.com, and it's at Sherman Oaks FF on social media. And if you're up for a good time, actually, we did it April 20th this year. April 20th next year, there's going to be a night at a theater called THC Cinema. I think you can figure it out. All right, Jeff Hilliard, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me. That was fun.
I'm glad you had fun. I had fun. And thank you, everyone, for listening.